More sad news. So, for one, if you're YouTube watching, this is the beginning of a new video. So, hi, I'm Triumph, and today we're talking about a bunch of dumb shit that Trump's doing to our world. I'm not going to say economy, just to the world. There's other actually, no, every single one of these stories is about Trump. Never mind. So, I hope you guys are ready to be maybe a little depressed, but informed. Because if you're watching me, you're probably already suffering from depression anyway. So you should at least be smart about it. But let's start with Trump's suggestion some suggestion the US take over the Gaza Strip is rejected by allies and adversaries alike, which makes sense that they wouldn't like that. It's frankly, it's mostly insane. There's like a take that there could be there's some universe where you can make a good argument for the US usurping control of Gaza Strip from Israel. Not under this presidency, though. But let's get into just a little bit of it. The United Arab Emirates, in Dubai, President Donald Trump's proposal that the United States take over the Gaza Strip and permanently resettle its Palestinian residents was swiftly rejected and denounced on Wednesday by American allies and adversaries alike. Trump's suggestion came at the White House news conference with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a man who I despise with a burning passion, who smiled several times as the president detailed a plan to build new settlements for Palestinians outside the Gaza Strip and for the U.S. to take ownership in redeveloping the war-torn territory into the Riviera of the Middle East. Resettle them where? I think he usually mentions like Jordan and like Egypt, but most importantly, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit where they go. He just wants them gone because he hates Palestinians. I think I don't know, actually, do we have any video from this one? I know he was asked, they probably mentioned it here. He was talking about, man, we're gonna have them move this area, we're gonna have them move this area, and it's like, but they want to stay. It's like, they can't want to stay. Like, he can't imagine a world where they'd want to stay in an area. Because, again, it's been blown to smithereens. That's the thing about people being in their homes, bad as it is, it's their home. You know? No one wants to get kicked out of home. Like, it would take a lot for me to, like... New England would have to be bombed for me to want to leave New England, quite frankly. That's why prices can keep skyrocketing. I'll try and get more fucking money. Like, that's just what it is. Hi, I'm editing Triumph. This is not an ad read. I just wanted to let you guys know you could join my Discord if you also similarly have, progressive beliefs and you mostly like video games, because I spend most of my time streaming talking about video games and other random news stuff. But, maybe you guys will find a fun time in my community too, but I've already wasted enough time there's a point where I'd leave, but it takes a lot for people to want to leave their homes, especially if you're 15 years old, like the average age of a Palestinian probably is. It's not 15, it's a little higher. You've always lived in suffering, so this is worse, but you want to at least get back to normal. So you're not like, you don't want to go somewhere else and then suffer in a new area. Also, other countries don't want to take Palestinians. That's a really important point. Even the pro-Palestinian countries, countries that were, just pick a country that doesn't like the United States. They probably were also more pro-Palestinian. Pick Iraq, pick Afghanistan, pick any predominant majority Muslim area besides Saudi Arabia. But Saudi Arabia was still like the Saudi Arabians care more about Palestine. Well, they hate Israel. So they hate Israel, and they're also Arabs there. So, but like, they don't want to take Palestinians in. But also, there's the thought process as an Arab person, is like, why should a group of people like ourselves be kicked from their land? That's where they live, and they should stay there. Anyway, let's get back into it. The US will take over the Gaza Strips, and we will do a job with it too. We will do a job. What job, Trump? Just a job? That's fine. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site. Level the site, get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply an unlimited number of jobs. You can't make unlimited jobs. That's not a thing. We can't do that here.
Baby just wants to put a casino.
It's gonna be a big Trump casino next to a Trump hotel and a Tesla factory next to it. Yeah. There'll be a Facebook headquarters, all of his billionaire buddies. Joe Rogan's gonna do a show from there. It'll be great for those guys. Like, you're just gonna create an economic development? How? guys, I think he mentioned leveling a lot, right? Not casino. The comments came from amid a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, during which the militant group has been turning over hostages in exchange for released prisoners. I'm pretty sure is it like 50 prisoners for like per like one hostage. It's like a pretty crazy rate. Israel has a lot of actually no. Well, I don't know if it's worse to call them hostages or prisoners. Israel functionally they're also hostages that Israel's taken under the guise of they potentially are related to Hamas. But again, all you have to do to be Hamas is work for the government in any capacity. That does make you Hamas, by the way. You could also be a terrorist, but you might also be a doctor. Those are both people working for Hamas. Okay, we've got some of the other countries. Egypt, Jordan, and other American allies in the Middle East have already rejected the idea of relocating more than 2 million Palestinians from Gaza elsewhere into the region. Saudi Arabia, an important ally of America, weighed in quickly on Trump's expanded idea to take over the Gaza Strip with a sharply worded statement noting that it's a long call for an independent Palestinian state was a firm, steadfast, and unwavering position. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia also stresses that it had previously announced regarding its absolute rejection of infringement on the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, whether through Israel's settlement policies, annexation of Palestinians' land, or to displace the Palestinians. So basically, they're saying, hey, we don't want to make the Palestinians leave, which is going to be the default take from the Arab world. I would generally say the Middle East, but Israel's in the Middle East, and again, there are Arab Jews or Arab Israelis, but they are going to be a very loud minority in many ways here. Let's see, Prime Minister, I think we just look at the countries that are rejecting it. Australia is the same as everybody else's. No. Trump has already made waves with upset along allies. Because Trump wants to annex Canada and fucking Greenland and Panama. None of these three things will happen without military force, and that would require going to war with Canada. Who owns Greenland? Is it I don't remember which country actually has but like that would require going to war. Like Canadians would obviously lose the war, but they would go to war because again, no one wants to be taken over by another country, which is like again the Ukraine thing. It's like, well, there's a lot of Ukrainian Russians anyway. No, thank you, Denmark. Thank you. No one wants to be taken over by another country. No, there's no one that wants to do that. Like it's freaking in the United States. Like imagine like I'm from CT. And I'm in Rhode Island and I'm in Mass a lot. I wouldn't want Rhode Island or CT just absorbed by Mass, though they basically are. Everyone gets Mass health. It actually would probably make some measured improvements to Connecticut. Actually, I'll take that back. Massachusetts. Annex Connecticut.
Remember, if they take over Greenland, they don't get free healthcare anymore.
Yeah, you as a citizen, you do not want to lose your free health. Because again, the major financial problems that people all over the world, in the developed countries especially, but really over the world, is healthcare and housing. Even food insecurity is not as big of an issue as housing security and healthcare. Like, even again, people think of like the starving kids in Africa and whatnot. There are still kids starving in Africa, but there are kids starving everywhere. Healthcare is a bigger concern I'm pretty sure maybe there's probably a few edge cases. Every one of these areas, like, and if you become the United States, you lose your health care. So, like, no, just that alone, even if you didn't have any patriotism or nationalist values, like, no, United States, the country where people are like bleeding out and like please anything but an ambulance. Absolutely not. But yeah, Massachusetts, please annex Connecticut. They need help. What else do we going on? I was just talking about the 1,200 people killed by Hamas. They always have to mention that, otherwise they'll be labeled as anti-Israeli. Holding off the Zionist occupation, accountable for the crime of the genocide and enslavement. Yeah, okay, that's mostly everything there. But yeah, insane. You can't just... Trump wants to just get rid of... I mean, his language before he won was pretty similar to this. What's our next Trump topic? The Trump administration pulling almost all USAID workers off the job worldwide. This sucks a lot. More international news again. All of this is actually going to be mostly international. I don't think I have one of these stories which Star suggested is going to be not international news. But the next bit, the USA ID stuff sucks really bad. Let's talk about what they do. Generally, they're responsible for, well, actually, she's right, but in the name, United States Agency for International Development. A lot of money for different like healthcare related stuff. Potentially money for rebuilding buildings. People that are stricken by droughts. People are stricken by any bad thing that happens worldwide. The United States has money allocated to help these countries, which is one of the few good things the United States does worldwide, like to make up for all the imperialism that we do. Counteracts a lot of that negative shit. But let's read. The Trump administration said that Tuesday it is pulling almost all the U.S. Agency for International Development workers off the job and out of the field worldwide, moving all but end a 6-decade mission to shore up American security by fighting starvation, funding education, and working to end epidemics. Nothing that matters. Starvation, education. It's not like if you're the reason that an area can eat and get jobs and not be sick, that country's citizens might be like, wow, actually America pretty based. Maybe I should support them in their economic and political endeavors, perhaps. And then when you get rid of that, these people aren't going to obviously think, you're the people that let my child die, let me stop me from getting an education. Even if they didn't have it beforehand, but when you take it away, taking something away from someone is worse than never giving it. It's just a horrible policy. Like, Trump is a horrible negotiator, is what I really need you guys to understand. And when you talk to people who are pro-Trump, or just pro-conservative in general, but we'll say pro-Trump, on these details matter. Okay, the administration notified USAID workers, we're just going to say USAID, it's just quicker that way, in emails and notice posted online, the latest in a steady dismantling of the aid agency by returning political appointees from President Donald Trump's first term and billionaire Elon Musk's government efficiency teams, who call much of the spending on programs overseas wasteful. Wasteful to let people die, wasteful to let people live, financially savvy to let people die, and make sure they're uneducated, and make sure we don't have allies who would be more likely to create businesses in the United States and a partnership with the United States, which shows up our investment overseas. Not like it matters. None of it matters. It's like all of the economics learned is just thrown out the window. Got no advisors that can get through to him. Anyway, the order takes effect just before midnight and gives direct hires of the agency overseas, many who have been frantically packing up households in expectation of layoffs, 30 days to return home unless they are deemed essential. Contractors not determined to be essential would also be fired. The move has been rumored several days, and most extreme of some proposals considered consolidating the agency into the State Department. Other options have included closure and smaller USAID missions and partial closure of larger ones. So it does seem like mostly just phasing it out entirely is the goal, and they'll see how much, likely all the goals is to just try and shut everything down, and then whatever receives the most pushback, not really vocally, more like legal pushback, whoever fights the biggest fight, okay, we'll give you, now you negotiate, okay, well, you can keep this much of this program. So maybe maybe at the end of the day, there'll be some country that receives some healthcare. That's probably it. Maybe some healthcare. Maybe they get them on the epidemic stuff. Well, the conservatives are so anti medicine that I don't know if they'd even keep anything, but it's really bad. And most of us will be talking about the same thing. I'm going to see if there's anything from... This is mostly Musk's doing, to be fair. Trump's orders, Musk's doing, and he's the one giving the suggestions to Trump, because Trump's not paying attention to any of this stuff. Because he doesn't understand government at all, is really the one trying to get across. The mass removal of thousands of staffers overseas in Washington would doom billions of dollars in projects to some 120 countries, including security assistance to partners such as Ukraine. Okay, well, that's going to be an intentional cut. Trump just doesn't like Ukraine. Clean water, work for clean water, and job training and education, including schoolgirls under Taliban rule in Afghanistan. I didn't even know we were doing any revolvement left for schools for the Taliban. I honestly, that's another thing. I'll do maybe a 7-minute video on the Afghanistan stuff soon. But eggs are cheaper now, and and have those dying children considered that. Also, before I finish this, egg price. There's got to be an egg price tracker. We're just gonna say eggflation. I need an update. We're just gonna egg price tracker.
Oh, did you hear about that? Did you tell them at the Waffle House? They're charging 50 cents per egg.
Waffle House is charging an extra 50 cents per egg now until prices go back to normal, which business-wise, I get. Eggs are getting crazy. I think 50 cents might be... Actually, I don't think that's crazy right now.
Milk charge when you have, like,
Yeah,
milk.
like the avocado. And that's not going to go away, by the way. Like, in general... When we make, like, unless there's like some crazy change, when prices go down for goods, new charges stay when the prices go back down, because that's now profits a company can keep. Let's see. Do we have a tool? I just want like a simple chart showing. I just want a simple chart. That's it. Look at this shit, bro. Okay, so average price of eggs is now $7. Walmart, I think they're like $10. It's really enough if you're in the Northeast. And you have I think there's Stop and Shops everywhere, but I think cheaper at Stop and Shop to get eggs than Walmart right now. And maybe in Shaw's too. If you have a Shaw's, Stop and Shop, Star Market, any of those brands, I don't know what other grocery stores you guys have the rest of the country. You weird non-New Englanders with your wrong and immoral grocery stores.
It's time to buy some chickens, I think.
Right. This is the past year. Let me just look at the. Let's do it by week. Actually, let's do it by month. We did have another egg spike. I mean, this is the craziest egg spike ever. So it seems like, let's actually go by day real quick again. Is it not? There we go. I just want you to know that prices have been going up more rapidly as Trump's become president.
Because he's not
Beforehand.
publishing anything about the bird flu.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bird flu, which is the thing that's killing off. Cause that might actually be a separate.
I think there's millions of birds.
That might want to be a separate video too, right? Because like
Because
people care
it's,
so much about
it's
eggs.
jumping into humans now too,
Right.
There was a fatality,
Mm-hmm.
and no one's talking about it. He's not publishing anything about the bird flu.
It's great. The fact that he's gonna have two major world pandemics is every time he's president. It's just not. But the Earth's just like, we gotta start killing people. It's crazy. Like, so we've done nothing for egg prices. We buy eggs in bulk, so I can't comment. I did eat a lot. I haven't been eating as much eggs recently. But no, I normally would eat like 4 eggs a day for breakfast. Like anytime, like you can ask my girlfriend. Like maybe I'd get like 3 some days if I'm feeling less peckish. But yeah, so this is what our president is doing. So we're saving money by cutting aid to other countries. We're in trying to move Gazans out of Gaza. But we'll move to the next topic here. Trump's DeepSeek in focus as nations gather at Paris AI Summit. So do you guys know what DeepSeek is? I don't know. Depending on who's what, I don't know who's gonna be the target audience for this YouTube video. So for anyone who is not aware what DeepSeek is, it is functionally the Chinese version of ChatGPT, or if you're someone like me or a girlfriend, the Chinese version of Gemini, because I don't use ChatGPT. Or maybe there's probably some overlap, but I use ChatGPT when I open Copilot here, because that's based off ChatGPT. But for the most part, I use Gemini. But so, for long story short, ChatGPT and OpenAI, they spent billions and billions of dollars. $500 billion? I think they asked for $500 billion.
10 years.
Yeah, you said 10 years, Ed? You said 10 years.
Yeah.
AI, they spent 10 years, I think $500 billion, and they would continue to spend more and more billions of dollars to make ChatGPT. And currently there is a free version with a limited amount of questions you can ask. If you guys have used it, you realize it stops you at a certain point. And there are two price models. I think one at maybe like $20, and I think it's $200 for the most expensive one, and that's the one that coders who are all day working they're hoping that they use. Now they're still not profitable. They're losing money with every search, every query, I guess not search, like query, right, is the best example. But for anyone who doesn't know what a query is, for simplest terms, it's basically a search. That's that's the simplest version of it. But they lose money. So they're charging money, they've invested a bunch of money, and they're still losing money. And that's while we've annoyingly added ChatGPT to every program. Like large companies are like including them into their software. They have not been profitable. They will never become profitable based on my estimations, especially because DeepSeek is free and it costs I think $5 million
Well,
to make.
you know about the chips though?
Yeah, so there's an H100 chip and an H800 chip that is used to. This can be more complicated. Basically there's a very expensive high-end chip that is $45,000 per chip, and it's, if you guys are gamers, like you see like your RTX GPU that's in your computer that lets you play games. It's basically that, but more specialized for running AI or large language models, right? So those are super expensive, and companies in the United States, Meta and called it Meta, Facebook. I'm not giving Mark Zuckerberg that. Facebook, Microsoft, and a couple of other companies have been buying these 45,000 chips like by the hundreds of thousands. They're spending boatloads of money on these chips. And the U.S. Biden passed there was basically restrictions that China could not buy these chips from the United States. However, they could still buy the H800 chip, which I think it's H800. Let me make sure I'm correct. H800, yes, 800 GPU, which is well, now it's not gonna be cheaper. Right? Is it 800 and 8100? I think I might have said the wrong order. Let me just see. Shopping. I just need to make sure I've said the right one. Could be lying. Okay, so I think I flopped the order. The H100's the cheaper chip. The H800's the expensive chip. But the point is, there's an expensive version, $45,000. The cheaper one, I think it's around $22,000. They could buy a bunch of those, and more importantly, apparently a bunch of Chinese immigrants were sneaking chips back to China. They're like people with like going back to China from the United States with like 4 chips in their bag. But also, as one of my chatters mentioned here, DeepSeek was inspired by ChatGPT model, and ChatGPT got mad at them for plagiarism. Very important point, that they could train off of ChatGPT's data. They already exist, and I'm sure there's probably a myriad of ways where they try and illegally gain access to that data.
I think some of it was open source.
Some of it, right? Also, all of DeepSeek is open source, by the way. So you can just.
The other thing is, ChatGPT was getting in trouble for training on stuff on the internet that other people consider plagiarism.
Exactly.
So now they're pissed off that someone stole their model.
Both you and my chatter hit the nail right on the head. Like, no one gives a flying fuck that they stole ChatGPT's data. It's all of ChatGPT's data is taken, we'll say, but largely stolen from YouTube videos, right? From Reddit, from from different libraries where you have to have paid access to get, and now it's being repurposed and posted. Like, I mean, some of the questions I've asked different one of these models, I'm like, to get an answer to that, I would have had to pay a scientific journal to read access. That's not just access accessible on Google. So they've stolen all of their information and have not been sued or not had to pay any price for it. So now, in fact, this is actually better, because now you guys can get the information that you all created from DeepSeek, who stole it, from ChatGPT, who stole it from everybody else. So yes, you should be getting it for free, because for one, AI mostly sucks. Right. Big things. Just reminded me, like, you don't have to have it connected to the Chinese servers, by the way. You can download it and you can just run it locally on your phone, and connect it to wherever you want. That aren't moderated by China. Because if you ask it what happened on Tiananmen Square while it's connected on the base version of it, it won't give you an answer. So if you just download it and then use it from a US server, boom, now it doesn't, like, it'll be by necessarily less censored than ChatGPT or any here, because there are questions that our servers don't answer, right? Again, like, if I ask Gemini who's the current president, it tells me it can't answer that question.
But then if people say, like, oh, it's a Chinese program, you shouldn't use it because of the data concerns, you shouldn't be putting any personal, like, information or work information in.
Absolutely.
Because they can record it, it can go to the police, it can go to the government, like, every answer is recorded.
You really shouldn't on any you should have as little public private information public just ever. Like, if you'll note, well, you've noticed it. Like, I don't even know if I'm signed in on anything on this computer, because this is the one you guys can see what I'm looking at here in public and whatnot. I'm like, just in general, just don't assume that everything you use is private, because it's usually not. A while ago, I think I mentioned, I don't know if I did one time talk about Telegram, like basically Telegram data raids, and a bunch of people got like scared. It was like, what? I thought Telegram was private. I'm like, the private, if you choose to set an encryption mode on person-to-person messages, those are private. Nothing else is, and that's publicly available information on their website, on the app. Like, these are just forums and message boards and group chats. None of these are private. No one ever told you it was. Don't assume that it's private. Everybody knows that Google Chrome's incognito mode is functionally the same thing as just on the regular browser, and then just erasing your history. Meaning you on your specific device don't see the history. The history still exists. Your ISP has it. Google has it. Anything else that you looked up within the last probably 30 days has it, because they have cookies tracking everything. Like, I mean, just best piece of advice, for now, don't do anything illegal, so that you don't have to be worried about what you did.
Murder someone on
If you're curious about how to do a crime, get over it.
Go to the library.
Yeah, really, go to the library. Don't check out the book though either, because then now we have got on record we've checked out. Go to the library and read a book on the thing. And if you can't commit the effort to sitting down and read a book, rethink that crime you're about to do, because you're gonna get caught, bro. Oh man. But there's more to this article here. I think we've covered the most important parts. You talk about Sam Altman. Also, Sam Altman's a fucking bitch, just in general. I really hope I never have to apply to any job that any of these guys work at. I don't think I've really shit-talked Google, though. For no reason, for obvious reasons. Google's actually based in Red Pills. I don't know. We'll see about Microsoft. Maybe, is there an office of Microsoft near here? Wait, let's see something. Unbiased criticism by Triumph. Microsoft. Let's just see headquarters near here. If there's one near me. It's the closest one. That's deep. Oh no, is that the only one? They don't have any offices? If they got one in Cambridge, I'm telling you. Not an office store. That's just going to pop up the regular stores. I don't think there's a Microsoft near me, and for that reason, I won't be applying. And for that reason, Microsoft, don't trust them niggas either. I say as I use Edge and Bing right now. But what else? I forgot the egg prices. Let's wrap this section up of the video. But yeah, DeepSeek. So if you guys want to give China more of your data, TikTok isn't enough, and Red Note wasn't enough. DeepSeek, give them more. Fuck it, because they're already buying it from Meta. Like, there is more data they can get. We can do. If you guys are nerdy enough, we can talk about some of that stuff later. Let's see. Investors on guard as U.S. tariff threats evolve. So the tariffs are an ever-changing issue, and I didn't wait to talk about it because I knew things were changing. I was busy. I'd have made a video, and then things would have changed. But let me get first quick overview on, again, because this might be someone's first time watching this. Actually, I might start the video from a second point here. So if I spend another half an hour talking, I spent 20 minutes. This might be a second video because we're going to talk about two big things, but we'll see. So I don't know if you guys know what a tariff is. I assume my community probably knows, but if you're new to the community, you probably don't know. But if you're watching this, you probably need to know a little bit. But most important thing to know about a tariff, it is a tax on imports that the business doing the import pays to the United States government. That is what a tariff is. And if anybody tries to tell you something different, they probably didn't pay that much attention you're probably not talking about tariffs in high school. But if they are someone who perhaps has a degree from a prestigious university. Donald Trump's a fucking idiot. He doesn't understand what a tariff is because he never paid attention in school. He was a horrible student, and his classmates will tell you that. But so the reason tariffs are bad, and the lefties are always talking about why it's a bad thing, despite not normally being super concerned with demand and supply chain economics and whatnot in any capacity, because this one's really easy. And like your first thing in Econ 101 is like, yeah, tariffs are normally a bad thing because they make things more expensive for consumers. So when a business that works in the United States buys a product and it costs 25% more, and they don't have a buffer of that 25%, say it's $100 for to buy some product, and they sell it at $110, right? Like everything that goes into making it, like, and they said 110, so they have 10% profit. So this is like the most profitable business, manufacturing business that ever existed. 10% profit margins. So say there's a 25% tariff on that. Well, what's 25% of that $100 for that product? No, now you're at 120, because it'll 25% increase more. So it's $125. So now you're at a loss of $15 for this product. And a company that doesn't make money doesn't exist unless you're OpenAI, who's getting billions of dollars in investing from companies because they're fucking idiots. But if you're a manufacturing company, you don't get to do what the tech companies in the United States do. The tech companies get to exist on ideas in magical fairy dust, like Elon's Tesla, OpenAI, Google, Uber. All these companies are almost never profitable. But it was like, but one day we'll make them predictable. But again, so now, like we talked about, 25% tariff, that brought that price from $100 to $125. They sell a product at $110, and that's where all so that means they're losing $15. For that company to continue to exist, they need to at least, to break even, sell their product now $15 more, but they probably want to be profitable again. So now if they still want to get that $10, now they're going to save that product at $135. Isn't that crazy? A product has jumped up that much money because of this tariff. Now, the only way they can make since the only way they can make the money is to charge the consumer, whether it's another business, like in the case of like someone who imports steel, like they make a bunch of other small products, like parts for cars, parts for computers, parts for fridges, parts for pretty much everything. Everything has, not everything, many things have some part of steel in it, right? So now a bunch of companies that buy steel from that importer or whatnot, right, or are an importer of steel, they make all of the rest of your products more expensive. That's why a tariff on one thing has a large impact on the rest of the economy if it's like something like lumber or steel, which means that's how you get a variation of inflation. There's two ways to get inflation. Products become more expensive, or your dollar becomes weaker. There's too many dollars in a system, so like you end up charging. We're not going to go that deep into economics, but basically that's how you get things becoming more expensive because of tariffs. That's not the simplest, but it's a fairly simple explanation, and I'll cover it a bunch of times. Again, we're going to be talking about tariffs quite a bit. So when this happens, we get investors who are very scared because the previously very safe investments that they had in manufacturing companies who don't experience many changes, unlike tech companies who, any bit of news can change how an investment works. So when you're invested in, a steel plant, right? You're invested in a company that makes washing machines. You're invested in like GE. You're invested in any car company, right? Generally, there's going to be pretty standard expectations of the returns. Things aren't shifting. You're not reacting to markets in a way that other companies do, because people buy cars mostly the same way all the time, unless there's an economic crash, right? It's pretty obvious when people can't buy household appliances or cars, right? Or groceries, right? People are generally always going to buy groceries who are invested in things related to agriculture, groceries. That means a lot of people who do very stable investments like to put their money into these systems. And when a tariff comes in, now a bunch of people who had a lot of money that they thought was safe, because it becomes safe. So now these people get very scared and they start pulling their money out, because these are people who do not like risk. And even if you did like risk, this isn't like a risk situation. This is just, hey, your investment's worse now because the companies are making less money, simply put. So all of that said, tariffs will usually be bad for that. I'll do a separate video where I talk about situations where tariffs were helpful and why they were good. but I've already bored anyone watching with economics that much, so we won't bore them any further. Let's read I'm still going to be talking about economics as I'm reading this article. But starting here, it says, investors are seeking to protect portfolios from potential economic fallout from President Donald Trump's tariff plans, even as many on Wall Street doubt the situation will erupt into a sustained trade war that cripples assets. Now, a trade war is in this instance, there's many variations of a trade war, but the most common variation of a trade war is a country puts a tariff, like the U.S. put a tariff on Chinese steel, which is why one of the reasons why housing prices went up, because companies couldn't afford the two major things, steel and lumber, to make houses, a very large part. And China put tariffs on, I forget what they put tariffs on, some other stuff. So both countries keep putting tariffs on each other, which charges their consumer more. Obviously, we covered how the consumer has to pay more. And then on top of that, some other product that we would buy from China is now more expensive, which, so you get screwed over twice when you're in a trade war. Trade wars are generally bad and usually are only done to get some other political advantage, like many instances where, you could say that some of the actions China takes in Taiwan is a good enough reason if you feel like Taiwan's independence is important. In Hong Kong, when they got rid of the Hong Kong's independence, maybe you could argue that's a good enough reason to sacrifice economic growth. But I'm going to act as if there are no good reasons for sacrificing economics, because the right and conservatives had told me that cheaper eggs are a good enough reason to let trans kids die, basically. So when I talk about economics, I'm not going to be as concerned with that for now. Anyway. So we talked about the drone. Announcements on tariffs have whipsawed markets this week as investors try to wrap their heads around the evolving dispute. Sweeping tariffs Trump ordered on Saturday on Mexico and Canada were paused for a month while tariffs were being imposed on China, in which retaliated with its own. I need to see what China tariffed us with. Some investors have been preparing for potential tariffs that Trump vowed to put in place during his campaign, including moving assets seen as less vulnerable to a trade dispute or geopolitically uncertain more broadly. So that's what I'm talking about here. They remove their investments on, and this, again, it's not an easy thing to do. Like, the investments are, you can move, like, it's not like you're on Robinhood. These investors aren't, like, some might be, but it's not like, oh, you just open your app and like, oh, well, let me take out of that. That was risky. Like, there's a negative cost to removing your investments early, especially. Because, again, these aren't like people who are just like, well, I have $1 million. Let me just take out this $1 million. So largely, 40-year-old, 50-year-old people, because if you're younger, you're probably invested in riskier stuff. Your 401ks and Roth IRAs, which we can talk. Actually, I probably should, all of you guys are about 20-ish, or 6. Even if you're 16, you should probably know immediately. So actually, you know what? I'm glad you said just that, because we need to do a video on that too. Make sure everybody in my community is financially well informed. But so these are people who don't. It's not as easy to make changes to your account, because for one, you're invested. Largely it's your money is being managed in some capacity, and you're not the person making the decision. Whoever, basically a company has control of the money that you're invested in, and they are deciding where the money should go. And to be honest, there's not that many places that your money can go. Quite frankly, there's a reason that people chose these investments. Now they could look at products like, for Canada and Mexico don't have the entire stock market, right? There are other products that should be more stable. So in some ways, they could actually increase the value of other aspects of the stock market and whatnot. So like the total impact won't necessarily be bad, because it's not like most people aren't just going to pull their money and just like, well, now I've got money now. So you're going to have less money than you would if you would have invested for a long period of time. So you'll put it somewhere else, but figuring out where it goes is always going to be a question, right? And as you add your money to another account in some other company, once you take it, like, oh, well, now we've had an increase of value here, so now somebody else pulls it out. It creates a lot of ripples, and variability in 401ks is the exact opposite of what you want. We'll say simply enough. I've never had a job with a 401k. You will. Well, presuming you will, yeah, at some point. And what's one of the what is it? The big benefit is we always want to take the match.
So if you put it, so someone did 3 or 6%. So if you put in 6%, they'll put in 6%. So you're getting double the money in.
Which is very huge. So you get to have the benefit of investing twice as much money without putting in that twice as much money. So that's why it's really big. You can usually switch for, like when you go to a different company, you can still have the investment. That's There's a couple ways you could do it, but very big. It's one of the having Roth IRAs and 401ks are the ways that a lot of people are planning on protecting themselves from not having Social Security, because there's some expectation that they won't have Social Security or as much Social Security when you get older. So all of you in my community and everyone alive needs to understand investing at some point, because there's a chance that you may not be protected by Social Security because this same president wants to get rid of Social Security.
Well, did you know that the last time that this situation happened with the presidency, the amount of people in Congress, the tariffs, all that, was right before the Great Depression?
Yeah, that does track. The tariffs were used a lot in the 1900s, but like primarily like 1901 to like 1920 when the Great Depression started. And that's when we switched to a different economic style, which I favor in general, which has a lot more taxes on the high end, subsidizes. Like a bunch of welfare programs were created because of the Great Depression. Do you think Social Security would become basically null and void by the end of Trump's presidency? I don't know if he can, because old people make up a lot of the Republican voting base, and old people live on Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid. One of the two is for old people. So old people live on government subsidies for the most part. Most old people aren't rich. Most people aren't wealthy enough to survive, and medication costs a lot. So even the part of the government assisted medical healthcare, they still have to use their Social Security to cover a lot of the other medicine that's not assisted, because we have a complicated healthcare system. So I'd be surprised. Like, Republicans have been trying to get rid of Social Security. Well, let's say trying to dial back Social Security, trying to do things like means testing, right? So means testing being like, depending on what your economic situation is, we give you less money.
No, but this was the best one, odd and even. So if you're an odd number, you don't go in the Social
I forgot about that.
Security.
Was that Vivek Ramaswamy's idea?
Yes, and then the next group, if you're in second number is odd or even, you don't go in. And then the next group, and then it's like the Russian stacking dolls.
Yeah.
And then
Eventually we just get rid of it.
you save millions.
It's millions of dollars. So I don't know if you guys can hear her well. I think that mic speaks her up. But Vivek Ramaswamy, man seen making himself a sidekick to Elon Musk in an AI image when that was his choice. He made Elon Musk Superman and made himself James Olsen, who that's basically Superman's sidekick. It doesn't matter. It's a bitch made move, but he for some reason thinks like a great way to save money would be to cut the recipients in half by making either even or odd numbered recipients do or don't receive health care. But that's
Not
you
based on income, based on either.
just on a random number generator. Which, like, Ben Shapiro's idea is just like raise the retirement age. I'm like, first, nobody wants to retire later, because like the idea, like the conservatives keep saying that the retirement age, no, people are living longer, and so if you're living longer and you're healthier, you should work longer. I don't think that's actually the case on average for lower middle class and poor people, though. They're actually living shorter. If you're poor, you're actually living shorter than a generation ago. And if you're middle class, it's about the same. Exactly, that same healthcare that you won't have access to unless you're an odd number or even number. But at least that can make some sense where it's like, okay, well, if we just 2 whole years worth of people aren't receiving it, like, it's not that, like, if you're 80 and you can't afford to live, it's like, well, sucks, you're an odd number. It's like, okay, well, if you're 68 years old, I'm like, there's better chance you're healthier than a 78-year-old, or an 81-year-old who was running for president, who clearly is experiencing cognitive issues, like Joe Biden, who lost to someone experiencing different cognitive issues, Donald Trump. And we had a perfectly good, still not young Kamala Harris, still not young, but clearly there's not, I mean, there's a difference. My grandpa does stocks, maybe I'll ask him. And definitely, if you have, one of the biggest things that helps people get ahead financially is not just do you have rich parents or wealthy parents, and or do you have poor parents? So like if you have wealthy parents, likely they understand some sort of they have some financial savviness that they can pass on to you. And when you make mistakes, they can help two things. They can buffer you from it. Like if you fall on hard times, move in with your parents. You can help you get a job. But they also teach you how to invest so that you actually have money up over. You understand credit a little bit better. So if you have family, always be sure to ask them, especially like specific investment advice. Like I can give you general investment advice, but you hear people say this is not financial advice all the time. I can't give you legitimate, like, invest in this stock. That's illegal. Even though people do that all the time, I won't be doing that. But I will always be giving general business knowledge, we'll say. Business and economic knowledge, we'll say, on this channel. So if you guys don't have someone that you can go to talk about this, if I don't know it, we'll just look it up on stream together. We can learn about it, or I'll research it later. I should probably read the rest of this. I think I explained everything that's going to be of value without reading the article, which is not good because I don't want to pull a Tim Pool. Where should I bury treasure? For a second, I thought you were asking, where should you buy treasury bonds? That's actually an interesting one. No, like, why would you even know what a treasury bond is? Asking for a friend. In my backyard is where you should bury treasure. Always anybody, if you have treasure, give it to me.
Give out your address.
Yeah, I live at... They wouldn't do anything weird with it, right? I still need to get a P.O. box in the future when I get a big computer. That'd be the least of the issues. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. I think I probably explained this in the simpler terms than this would actually tell. Because we're looking at profit squeeze analysis. Analyst estimate tariffs could drive up inflation while weighing economic growth and corporate profits. Goldman Sachs strategist said that Trump's tariff announced on 25% on Canada and Mexico and 10% on China would reduce their S&P 500 earnings by about 2 to 3%, while strategists of the BOFA Global Research said it could be as much as 8%. God damn. Well, you lasted this long. Like, you watched the whole video. What's wrong with you? That's not good content now. But you lasted this long. You really should join the Discord community. Again, for the most part, gotta let you know. A lot of it's just people talking about their day, the video games we like to play, a lot of stuff in the stream community. Some of it's a lot more serious. Some of it's about the educational content we want to do here. There's a bunch of stuff we like to do. A lot of it's video games. A lot of it's just general lefty progressive stuff. A lot of, also very important, it's a inclusive LGBT space. Neurodivergent space. We're generally trying to be inclusive as most people. So if that's not your vibe, if you agree with my economic takes and don't like gay people, this is not a community for you. But yeah, if if you're chill with that, this seems like the right place. Also, we're going to start doing I'll do debate streams too. So if you want to be part of the community for that and we talk about our debate reviews, maybe a good space to join.